Hey guys, what's brown and sticky?
A stick?
A stick, right?
Oh, that was terrible.
I have young grandchildren, so I got that one.
Yeah.
It stumped me. I don't know. I wasn't sure where we were going with that.
Did your mind go to a dark place?
Always. That's how my mind works.
Sticky place.
Ew. That's awesome.
Hey guys, what's up? Patrick, you're in Germany, right?
I am. Family vacation. Kill me now.
Yeah.
The land of Lederhosen and Wiener Schnitzel.
Yeah, I haven't had any schnitzel. I had some good pizza, but I haven't had any schnitzel. Tomorrow's schnitzel day.
No brats.
I'm not a big brat. I've had some. You know what I have had is every morning we've gone to the bakery and gotten fresh Brötchen.
Okay.
And I got cheese Brötchen, and I've eaten 2 of them. And this is going to lose us a lot of listeners. I put liverwurst and Nutella on.
Oh, God. That's even worse than being brown and sticky.
And it's fantastic.
Ew. Yeah.
Yuck.
It's an acquired taste that only I have acquired.
Liverwurst and Nutella.
I like liverwurst, but I would never put anything sweet with it.
You like Nutella?
No.
And liverwurst, just not together.
And you like liverwurst?
All right. Well, let's get to our stories. First one, I sent this to my mother because she has a Canon inkjet printer, and apparently there's a Wi-Fi vulnerability that may expose user information. But here's the deal. It's only like if you're going to
throw it away,
give it away, or sell it, or
But that's a key point: is people get rid of hardware all the time. I mean, we've had a couple of engineers who work for us that have gone to secondhand computer stores, bought old drives, and to see what they can get off of them.
Yeah,
and it's scary what they can get off of them.
Yep.
You know,
I always put a nail through hard drives before I throw them away.
Yeah,
you might need to put acid baths through them. We have a shredder. There's actually a company we use to get rid of our hardware, and they have a disk shredder that will shred them up to tiny, tiny bits.
Oh, yeah. It's very cool. And then they'll give us a certified, hey, this thing has been shredded, which is kind of nice. Yeah, it's interesting. We use printers all the time to breach organizations. Not when they're getting rid of them. And what's interesting about this is most people, if they're getting rid of a printer, might go to factory reset. And that's the problem with this is if you click factory reset, it doesn't reset the Wi-Fi.
Right.
So what you need to do is reset it, go and enable Wi-Fi, then reset it again. And at that point, it will overwrite it.
Which is too much.
Just buyer beware. If you're using a Canon and it has Wi-Fi features, you may have to reset it twice before you get rid of that old printer.
When you use printers break in, let's just make it clear, we don't take them and throw them through Windows. This is...
You don't defenestrate them.
Until necessary.
Right.
Oh, man. All right. So that's not that bad, but just beware.
Yeah.
So what would you do? Would you take a sledgehammer to it and, or is there a way to actually remove all the settings?
Yeah, there is. I mean, with this particular one, you just have to reset it twice. With most devices, if you're going to reset them, resetting them a couple times is probably not a bad idea. Just reset it when it comes back up, reset it again. In some cases, I will go into a device and pull out the BIOS, but that's a little bit heavy-handed. And like Patrick had said, we use, if you're really concerned, we use a drive / electronic shredding service that will destroy the device for us.
They'll destroy printers and laptops and stuff too?
And TVs and all sorts of stuff.
Wow, no kidding.
Hard drives.
Yep.
Hard drive's usually the biggest thing. They'll give a certificate for that. Another thing you can do, but it's a little bit extreme, is we have a high profession soldering station that people use because we build some electronics. So desoldering everything.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I don't know if I'd go that far.
Nobody's going to do that.
Is also a fun way to get rid of everything.
It is.
I had a couple of our guys desolder some of the routers that we've used and stuff like that for experiments, just to make sure they're completely destroyed.
All right.
Well, and it is interesting because I think a lot of people think of the old times where you use like a big magnet to erase the drives.
Yeah, that doesn't work anymore.
That just doesn't work anymore. You can't do that.
It's not effective enough.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move across the pond to the UK where there was an electoral register cyber attack.
Yeah.
Is an electoral register like a polling station or a machine that does...
So
what is that?
It's really the registry of all voting people in the UK.
Oh.
What's interesting about there's a couple interesting things about this story.
First
off, it's probably one of the largest data breaches on the planet. It had 40 million voters
Wow.
worth of data. We're talking
Wow.
addresses, all sorts of information that you would use to register to vote. I mean, all sorts of data that...
Party affiliation.
And some of it is public. Some of it is, if you don't check off the I don't want my voter registration data sold in the UK, this is the database where they'll pull and sell it, right, to different parties. However, everybody who did check it off and say, I don't want my data sold, is also in there.
We're still in the database.
So it's 40 million's a lot.
And it's been like 9 years, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And what's also interesting is the hackers were in there for 9 months, I think. And before they kicked them out. And it sounds like it all boiled down to a very bad password management, but they're keeping it kind of hush-hush.
Sigh.
Could have been a bad batch of Bubble and Squeak for all we know.
Little spotted dick.
Yeah. Or a little rotten spotted dick. Got in there.
But the thing I don't know about this attack, because it's really weird. They're being cagey on how they got in. They said, yeah, there was an authentication thing that we should have changed, and now we use two-factor, so maybe it wasn't. They weren't using two-factor before. And then what they also said is, we're not really sure that they accessed 40 million users worth of data, but they didn't do anything else malicious.
Might have been only 39.9 million.
Right, exactly. So it's just, there's a lot of weird stuff going on there.
They had 9 months. They got the data.
Yeah, and what's they're believed that this was potentially either an exploit in Exchange, an on-prem Exchange server, or some sort of authentication breach. So yeah, it's not fantastic.
Time will tell. So this will end up in the breaches in public dark web forums in another 3 to 6 months if they did get the data and it wasn't a nation state that needed the data for their own purposes.
Yeah, and that's what I would speculate is it's nation state. They want to know which way people are voting and who they are.
So they can target and manipulate them.
All right. So in other news, Microsoft Windows Defender. You know, Microsoft is in a lot of our stories today.
They are. Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't we just call that a show?
I know, right? A show.
Shoe.
Well, and if you actually saw, there was a infographic done by CISA, I think this past week, either done by CISA or promoted by CISA. I follow Jen Easterly, and she had liked it. But it was neat. It was a big infographic, and it had each of the company names, sort of the high tech provider names, and the box on the infographic was bigger depending on the number of breaches or 0 days or whatever. And Microsoft was a big box, Apple was a big box, Cisco was a big box, Adobe was a big box,
big surface.
But then there were a bunch of smaller. So it doesn't surprise me that most of our shows are talking about one of those big providers. But
this is about Windows Defender being spoofed. What happened here?
This one's cool. All right. So you go to update Windows Defender, and Windows Defender pulls down this file, this mpamfe.exe file.
Yeah.
It's a Microsoft Protection Anti-Malware front-end file. Okay. What it does is it has definitions. Inside of it, there's 2 other executables and definitions for malware. Those malware definitions are in VDM files. They're virtual device metadata files.
Okay.
Now, those do have some sort of checking to make sure they haven't been tampered with, but it's brain dead simple. So what researchers have been able to do is remove signatures from there, say, for example, for the Conti ransomware executable, while Windows Defender is updating. And now Windows Defender doesn't know what Conti ransomware looks like. If you can get to that file while it's updating, they were able to generate a signature that makes it look valid, so that Defender will just load it and then get rid of it. What's worse is Defender has not only, hey, these are bad files, but it has what's called friendly files setting.
A whitelist?
Where it'll say, hey, let's run these no matter what they are, and don't warn the user, and it's a friendly file. It should be run. And that can be manipulated here too. So, interesting find.
So the attackers hijacked the update process, pretending to be Defender, and then got themselves in the middle and screwed everything up.
Yep, and they can remove bad executables from the signatures, that sort of stuff, and then you can run any malicious thing you want and Defender won't find it. It hasn't been exploited in the wild that anybody has seen, but interesting attack vector if you need to get rid of antivirus.
Right. All right. So still on the Microsoft topic here, evil proxy phishing campaign targets 120,000 Microsoft 365 users. And I wonder if this is related to that whole Chinese vulnerability thing with Office 365, where then they eventually just put it all in the dark net. So that, do you know what I'm talking about here? We talked about it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we did. We talked about that. This one's interesting in that this is a proxy / phishing as a service. So for $400 a month, yes, for the low fee of $400 a month, you don't need to manage the infrastructure to do any of your phishing. And this particular evil proxy is really good. It will bypass MFA. So what it does is I can send, and they have templates for DocuSign, they have templates for Apple, templates for Office 365, etc. You log in to your portal that you've paid $400 for, and you check off, I want to send out an Office 365 phishing email, and then you dump all of your email addresses in there you want to send it to, and you click send. And it manages everything for you. It'll go out and send the email. Users will click on it, say, oh yeah, I need to verify my account with Microsoft. They'll type in their username and password and potentially put their MFA in, if they're using MFA. And then the authentication tokens go back to the hackers. So now they have access to your account without needing MFA. So it gives you an MFA bypass. And that's one of the reasons why, A, this is really scary, but B, is super easy to mess with because it's just a service you can pay for.
Is this more sophisticated than GoFish and some of the other infrastructures?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We've emulated this functionality for our attack scenarios when we attack customers. And there's a lot to this. Setting up of reverse proxies and, making the emails look just right and hitting them at a particular time, maybe locking them out first out of their account. And then hitting them with one of these emails, and they come in and they, oh yeah, of course,
sounds like advice.
My password in wrong. So there's all sorts of, I know. There's all sorts of, there's a lot of things that are baked in here that are really good if you're an attacker, I guess.
I got an email from my mother today, and I could hear her voice in the email, saying, I got this email that says, thank you for your $399 payment. I didn't make any $300.99 payment. What should I do? So I wrote, thank you. I wrote back, ignore it. It's a scam, especially if you don't know who it's from. And then immediately I got back another email. I clicked on it and everything went crazy. Red flashing lights. I hope I didn't mess it up.
No. It's like watching a train wreck in slow motion.
You didn't mess up the phishing exploit. You did it perfectly.
Yeah, it worked well. It worked well.
Someone is happy.
Yes. Yeah. Surprisingly, though, these style of phishing attacks are very, very, very effective. We have yet to have one of these not work. So just be careful what you click on. Microsoft very rarely asks you to click on something to verify your account.
So most people have phishing, filtering, and all sorts of things that protect them. And they stop about 90% of the phishing from getting to the user. And that's a good thing. But it's also a bad thing because it means that the better things, it's almost like survival of the fittest. The best phishing attempts are the only ones that get to the user. And about 7 to 10% of them do get to the user. And so you need to train your users. You need to get users to understand what the state of the art is. I mean, listen to this podcast will probably get you most of the way there, but you need to get training for your users in your organization, for users in your family. I think that's the next level. That's the level we're getting to now.
And we're at that point in the show. We need to take a quick break, and we'll be right back with more fun hacks and everything.
Did you just call us hacks?
Yeah. No, right? Not you.
Old hacks.
And we're back. You're listening to Security This Week. You're at securitysthisweek.com. You can find us wherever you get your podcasts. That's Dwayne LaFlotte and Patrick Hines, and we're going through the week's stories here. Many of them have to do with Microsoft, but not this one. This one has to do with the Mac. So the article says, uninstall Night Owl from your Mac ASAP. So Night Owl is a Mac OS thing that lets you change the dark and light mode based on a variety of triggers. Right? It also keeps certain apps in light mode all the time if you don't want that. And then it has hotkeys and stuff. So apparently it was fine when it was first released, but the latest release turns into malware. Not good.
Hate when that happens.
No, what's interesting is it started off as a utility that was fine and fantastic, and then transferred kind of ownership and then became a piece of malware.
Right.
So it's a good advice to the users who are listening to this show. There could be a piece of software that you've used for ages. We can all think of one, right? WinZip, 7-Zip, like you name it. They're tools we've been using since we've been using computers. And we just sort of blindly download them and trust them and use them. But they may have changed hands. They may have incorporated new libraries that aren't, particularly looked at for security concerns. So just be careful what you download and run.
And that is foreshadowing to our main story, which is coming up after these next two.
The thing that's difficult about Night Owl, though, is they say just uninstall it. Right. So in Windows, you go add, remove programs, and you click uninstall. But for this, they say, okay, here's how you do it. Sudo kill all Night Owl launch control unload. Then what you need to run is
that's a command line.
Sudo kill all auto update sudo remove -rf and point it at the directory where it was installed.
Yeah.
Then you need to run zsh-c remove users star library launch agents Night Owl PL list, and then you're done. Right. It's that easy.
And Mac users were pointing fingers at us in the 90s for having to edit config sys and auto-exec bat. And now guess what? You got to go to a command line and enter hieroglyphics that you don't understand.
1,000 commands to get rid of this. Right.
Is this what Phil Collins was singing about all those years ago? Susu Studio?
Sudo.
Who's Phil Collins?
Very good. All right. Well, if you got it, uninstall it.
Yep.
Okay, let's get to some more of these Microsoft-related stories. Patch Tuesday warns of 20 days and 87 flaws, and this came out Tuesday, August 8th.
I mean, that's not really bad news. That's good news. That means they're catching things before their public knowledge.
Absolutely.
Yeah. 18 privilege escalations. 3 security feature bypasses, 23 remote code executions, 10 information disclosures, 8 denial of services, and 12 spoofing vulnerabilities.
And a ransomware for you.
In a pear tree.
We really should have a ransomware Christmas song. Maybe we can get that.
But, this update your Windows when these patches come out. If you see that little yellow circle icon in the lower right-hand corner of Windows 11, that means you need to reboot, and reboot you should to install the patches.
Right. I mean, it's funny. I was just logging into the podcast recording software, and Windows was like, "Hey, you really should update and reboot." And I was like, "No, I'll wait."
You should really reboot.
But after this, I'm going to reboot.
Yeah, that's always the thing, right? Oh, I don't want to reboot. Now I got all my windows open.
I shut down all my computers every night. A lot of people don't. A lot of people leave computers on for months. I shut them down every time I'm done using them. It's inconvenient, which makes it secure.
I like to keep them running. You know what I mean? Like once they're up, just keep them going.
So some people have these habits where they have like 1 billion tabs open.
Yep.
And like we have a developer who does that, and I tell him, you need to shut your stuff down. And he's got
my wife does that. Yeah, she'll be like, "Hey, I opened this website and it's really slow. Can you look at it?" And I'll look at it and I'll be,
"Hey, that's my mom you're doing there."
My mom.
Just a younger version.
Right? And I'll click on the tab, and instead of like, how the tab number on your phone says like 50 or 100 or whatever, and it tells you how many tabs you have open, it's just a smiley face. Because they get so high, they can't put the number anymore, and they're just like, whatever. You have so many tabs.
It's where it's just like the single pixel. There's 1,000 of them on
how do you even look through these?
And it's lolling you.
It's crazy.
It's lolling at you. All right, so let's talk about Visual Studio Code. First of all, for those who don't know, Visual Studio Code is a free open source development environment that lets you write freaking every language under the sun. And it's been taken up by way more communities than the .NET community or the Microsoft development community. Everybody loves Visual Studio Code. It's a great tool. So there's a flaw that lets extensions steal passwords. And this came out at Bleeping Computer on August 8th as well. Microsoft Visual Studio Code editor and development environment contains a flaw that allows malicious extensions to retrieve authentication tokens stored in Windows, Linux, and Mac OS credential managers. Uh-oh. That's no good.
Well, this is like the WordPress thing, which is you got to be careful what you add on from the ecosystem. So it's not an automatic own. It's that there's a way for something bad to get in there and do something bad. Yeah. It doesn't mean it's affecting everybody, but you got to be careful where you get stuff from. Like just going to websites randomly that you've never heard of and have no reputation with you will get you infected. Installing random apps on your phone or other device will do the same thing. And the same is true of anything that takes an extension or has add-ons.
I'll give you a story. You guys would be proud of me. I saw this thing in my Facebook feed that looked like something I need, right? It's a piece of software that does sketching. It's called SketchWow. I don't mind giving them a plug. And, it's all like animated and it has all sorts of cool ways to draw arrows and, make diagrams and stuff. And I thought, I don't really want to install any big Office product or any other big, this is like a $45, you download it, you use it, we're done kind of product. So, I went to, Tech Reputation or something like that. There's a couple of websites where you can, look online and see if anybody's reported them or say, hey, stay away from this. It's malware.
Right.
And their overall ratings were pretty high. They were in the 80s. And the complaints that people did have were about features. They weren't about,
or support,
security flaws.
Yeah, or support. Yeah, exactly. Support was abysmal for people. But anyway, so I downloaded it and it runs and it works fine. But if I hadn't done those checks, I never would have downloaded it. Mm-hmm. That's the first thing, especially nowadays. That's the first thing I do is I go out and I check to see what people are saying about it.
You've joined the tribe. You've joined the security tribe. One of us.
I think I've just become smarter about that kind of stuff.
Yeah, well, that's key.
It's interesting too because even my kids ask me the same thing because they know obviously what I do, and two of my kids have actually interned and gone through cybersecurity training here, so they get that things aren't secure, right? So when they go to download new apps now, they'll come to me and say, "Okay, Dad, what am I looking for here?" Like when you go to download an app, what are the permissions that are bad, right? That they if it's asking for, fine grain, location, is that a bad thing?
Yeah.
If it's asking for device ID, is that a bad thing? Right. And we'll go through what those mean and how you should avoid certain apps. We talked about this, I think, last week when I was looking for a Morse code app.
Yeah, right.
Which apparently there are none in the Apple ecosystem.
Right. And I offered to write one for you.
That don't try and take everything. I know. Well, we're going to do that, Carl. I'm going to have you write one.
We should turn that into a couple of slides for our Keeping Kids Safe from an electronics course.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. All right, that brings us to the biggie. The title of this show is To Mock or Not to Mock, MOQ. So a popular open source project called Mock, it's pronounced MOCK, but it's MOQ, criticized for quietly collecting data. And let me tell you, this has the .NET developer community up in arms.
So what's it collecting?
So here's the story. It's got over 100,000 downloads on any given day. It's been downloaded over 476 million times. So again, it's a trusted project. But this week's release, 4.20.0, quietly included another project. They took a dependency on a project called SponsorLink. And SponsorLink is actually shipped on NuGet as closed source and contains obfuscated DLLs. That means you can't really see what the code is doing, that collect hashes of user email addresses and send these to SponsorLink's CDN, Content Delivery Network. And therein lies the problem. So everybody's saying, Mock broke our trust. The .NET Foundation is trying to do some damage control, It's just kind of a mess.
Well, and so this Mock project is written by George Dangle. Dangle is the developer. and he's Germany based. So we're not saying Patrick's out there to visit him, but
we're not saying that. We can neither confirm nor deny that Patrick is going to pay him a visit.
That there's a cyber hit squad.
Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah, so just like that night owl thing, right? It starts out, you trust it, everything works, and then somebody gets a hold of it, or they do something stupid, and all of a sudden you've got malware.
And everybody is doing something stupid. So Zoom, for example, has in their terms and conditions that they basically own access to all your meeting information, all your media, all your conversations, and it's probably to train AI, but it doesn't stipulate.
Yes.
Nope.
I saw that story. We'll add a link to that one as well. Yeah. That is.
Well, and in another, stupid move, they're requiring their employees to come back in the office because there's Zoom.
Yeah, that's also surprising.
So you're saying you can't work remotely at Zoom?
Mm.
Not possible.
Yep.
That's like going carb-free at Hershey.
Right? Could happen.
That hits close to home for you, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Because you're like a chocoholic.
I know.
It does, certainly does. I am very much a chocoholic. I'm in the land of chocolate right now.
Bavarian chocolate.
Yes.
Yeah, so you just need to be careful. Careful what you download. I'm actually really kind of pleased that this has come out. That means that people are actually looking at the plugins and looking to see, what's actually in there and what the changes are between versions, as opposed to just trusting the developer, which is, kudos on them.
Kudos. All right, guys, that's a show.
Sweet.
Patrick.
Thanks very much.
Patrick, have some Wiener Schnitzel for me, and make sure you pour a lot of gravy over it.
I like Jaeger Schnitzel.
And chocolate.
Jaeger Schnitzel is the right. Jaeger.
What's
it's the
Jaeger?
Hunter.
Yeah, Hunter Schnitzel.
It's got a brown sauce, mushroom gravy. It's very good.
Yeah.
Wiener Schnitzel is dry.
But wait, Schnitzel is all still sausage, right?
No.
Schnitzel is like a
Cutlet.
chicken parm kind of thing.
Oh, it's chicken, so it's healthy. Good for you.
Well, it's either chicken or pork or veal.
Yeah, veal is Wiener Schnitzel.
Well, no, Wiener Schnitzel
Veal
is actually, it's the way they made them in Vienna. Wiener Art. Wiener Schnitzel.
Oh, I thought it was veal, like Veal Schnitzel.
No, it can be, but it's all three. I've had all three here.
Wow.
Okay.
Patrick, I didn't know there was so much to Schnitzel.
There is very much to Schnitzel. That's a whole show. It's the next show.
That's a whole show on Schnitzel.
All right, we'll see you later. Have a good week.
Bye, guys.
See you next week. Bye.
Bye, guys.